Why do women sometimes feel drawn to men who don't seem to care about them? It's a question that many of us have asked, and the answers might surprise you. From the rush of excitement to the intense emotions, there's something about these men that seems hard to resist. But what is it that makes women chase after these kinds of relationships, even when they know it's not healthy? It's not just about the obvious traits. They may not value them, but there's something deeper at play. In this video, we'll be sharing the signs, starting from the least obvious to the most intense, to help you understand why this pattern keeps repeating. Some of these signs might even hit closer to home than you'd expect. If you're curious about what drives this behavior and how it can impact relationships, stick around until the end. And hey, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share it with anyone who might need to hear this. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 15. The chase addiction. For many, the thrill of the chase is irresistible. There's something about the excitement of trying to win someone over, especially when it feels like the person might not be easy to get. This dynamic creates a sense of achievement when you're able to get their attention, even if they don't value you in return. It's almost like a game, one where the stakes seem higher because the person isn't readily available or willing to commit. The chase is linked to feelings of mystery and unpredictability. People often find themselves hooked on trying to figure out the person's feelings, their intentions, and what they really want. It can feel like a puzzle that needs to be solved. When someone doesn't value you, it fuels the chase even more because it gives the impression that they're out of your reach. This can lead to an emotional roller coaster where there are highs and lows, moments of connection mixed with moments of frustration. What makes the chase so addictive is the emotional rush. It taps into a deep-seated need for validation and attention. In some cases, people may find themselves continuing the chase because they want to prove to themselves that they can win over someone who is emotionally distant. The excitement and sense of accomplishment that comes from this can overshadow the fact that the person doesn't genuinely appreciate you. Number 14. The bad boy magnet. It's a stereotype we've all heard about, women being attracted to the bad boy type. But why does this happen? The allure of the bad boy goes beyond surface-level attraction. On the outside, bad boys often come across as confident, rebellious, and mysterious. These traits can be intriguing, as they give off a sense of independence and self-assuredness that many find compelling. A bad boy doesn't play by the usual rules, and this sense of freedom and defiance is what often draws women in. It feels exciting and unpredictable. On a subconscious level, the appeal could also come from a desire to tame or change the bad boy, believing that deep down they might be capable of change if only they were given the right kind of love and attention. However, the downside to being drawn to bad boys is that they often don't value their partners. Their behavior can be dismissive or even disrespectful, but for some, this lack of care only intensifies the attraction. It's like a challenge, a way to prove that they can be the one to change the person. Unfortunately, this rarely works out as expected, leaving the individual feeling unappreciated and heartbroken. Number 13. Emotional roller coaster. Emotional ups and downs are a part of life, but in some relationships, they become the norm. When someone doesn't value you, there's a constant back and forth of emotions that keep you on edge. One minute, things might seem perfect, and the next, you're left wondering where you stand. This emotional roller coaster can be exhilarating, but it's also exhausting. People often get caught up in the emotional highs because they feel like they're finally getting the attention or affection they crave. When the emotional lows hit, it can feel devastating, leaving you wondering if you did something wrong or if they've lost interest. The unpredictability of someone who doesn't value you makes it difficult to gauge where the relationship is headed, which in turn makes it hard to let go. For some, the emotional roller coaster is what keeps them coming back. There's a false sense of hope that things will get better, that the next high will be even greater. But the constant emotional turmoil takes a toll on one's mental health, leading to anxiety, confusion, and even self-doubt. Number 12. The self-doubt trap. When someone doesn't value you, it's easy to start doubting yourself. You might begin to question your worth, wondering why they aren't showing you the same level of care and attention that you give them. This can be especially painful when you feel like you've given your all in the relationship, only to be met with indifference or neglect. Self-doubt can creep in gradually. At first, you might just wonder if you're doing something wrong. Over time, these thoughts can grow stronger, affecting your self-esteem. You might start believing that you're not good enough or that you're not worthy of love. This cycle of self-doubt becomes even more dangerous when it's fueled by the actions or inactions of someone who doesn't value you. The longer you stay in this situation, the harder it becomes to recognize your own worth. The danger of self-doubt is that it can cause you to settle for less than you deserve. You may start thinking that this is as good as it gets, that you're not capable of finding someone who values you properly. But the truth is, your value has never been in question. It's the other person's inability to recognize it that's the problem. Number 11. The fixer fantasy. Some people are drawn to relationships where they feel the need to fix the other person. This is especially common when someone doesn't value you, as it can create an illusion that you can change them. The idea that you can save someone from their emotional wounds or help them grow is an enticing fantasy. It gives you a sense of purpose and importance, making you feel needed. The fixer fantasy often comes from a desire to be loved and appreciated for the effort you put in. You might believe that if you show enough care, understanding, and patience, the other person will eventually see your worth. However, this fantasy can be dangerous because it leads to unhealthy dependency and codependency. The person you're trying to fix may not be ready to change or may not even want to change, leaving you stuck in a never-ending cycle of effort with little reward. In relationships like these, the person being fixed doesn't value you because they may never have the motivation to change. Your efforts, no matter how well-intentioned, can often go unnoticed, and this can lead to frustration, disappointment, and even resentment. Number 10. The unpredictable pull. Unpredictability is often seen as a form of excitement in a relationship, but when it comes to someone who doesn't value you, it becomes a source of confusion. One minute, they may be all in, giving you attention, affection, and promises of a bright future. The next minute, they may pull away without any explanation, leaving you wondering what happened. This unpredictability can be incredibly alluring. The human brain is wired to seek certainty, but when faced with uncertainty, it becomes an obsession. You may find yourself constantly trying to figure out their mood or intentions, trying to predict when they'll be available and when they'll withdraw. The more unpredictable their behavior is, the more you feel compelled to chase after them. However, this behavior is emotionally exhausting and destabilizing. The highs of attention are often followed by deep lows of rejection or indifference. Over time, this unpredictability takes a toll on your mental well-being and creates a toxic cycle that's hard to break. Number 9. The validation. Hunger. At the core of many relationships where someone doesn't value the other is the need for validation. When you constantly seek approval from others, whether it's through compliments, attention, or affection, it can become an addiction. This hunger for validation can cause you to stay in a relationship where you're not valued because you feel like you need that approval to feel good about yourself. In these situations, it's easy to become emotionally dependent on someone else for your sense of worth. You might feel empty or incomplete when they don't give you the attention you desire, and this can lead to unhealthy behavior patterns, like seeking out attention from someone who doesn't care. The person may not provide consistent validation, but the occasional approval can be enough to keep you hooked. Unfortunately, this validation hunger can blind you to the fact that you deserve better. It becomes a cycle where you keep chasing after someone who doesn't genuinely care for you, simply because their attention temporarily fills the void of insecurity. Number 8. The mystery lure. One of the most powerful attractions in relationships is mystery. The idea of not fully understanding someone, coupled with a sense of intrigue, can be incredibly alluring. People who don't value you often maintain a sense of mystery by keeping their emotions and intentions hidden. They're not fully open, and they don't share much about themselves, which creates a sense of curiosity. When someone is mysterious, it makes the other person want to uncover more, to dig deeper, and to find out what makes them tick. The allure is in the uncertainty. They may not give you enough to feel secure, but just enough to keep you interested. This can spark an intense emotional pull where you feel like solving the puzzle of who they are is worth the effort, even if it's draining and leaves you feeling uncertain. However, the danger of falling for this mystery is that it often leads to feelings of inadequacy and frustration. The person you're trying to connect with doesn't provide enough emotional clarity to allow you to build a stable foundation. Over time, this uncertainty can leave you questioning their true intentions and feeling unsatisfied. Number 7. The attention seeker cycle. In relationships where one person doesn't value the other, it's common to experience a cycle of attention-seeking behavior. This dynamic often involves the person who doesn't care about you making intermittent efforts to gain your attention, but only when they need it. They may ignore you for long periods, only to come back around when they crave validation or affection. This on and off pattern can create a sense of emotional whiplash. The person who doesn't value you will often disappear or give you the bare minimum of attention, but when they do engage, it's enough to make you feel needed or wanted. This intermittent reinforcement creates an addictive cycle where you find yourself constantly seeking their approval or affection, hoping to get a glimpse of the attention you crave. What makes this cycle particularly difficult is that it can be emotionally draining. You start to feel as though your worth is tied to their mood or actions. When they ignore you, you may begin to feel rejected, but when they give you attention, you feel validated. This back and forth can leave you emotionally exhausted and stuck in a never-ending loop. Number 6. The heartbreaker thrill. There's an undeniable thrill that comes with someone breaking your heart. Although it may sound counterintuitive, some people find themselves repeatedly drawn to people who don't value them because of the emotional rush that comes with the pain. It's as if the heartbreak itself validates the emotional intensity of the relationship. It might not make logical sense, but this is a common reason why some people end up in toxic or one-sided relationships. The idea of being heartbroken is often romanticized in pop culture, where love is portrayed as an emotional roller coaster. People may become addicted to the idea that love is supposed to be painful or difficult, and that only through hardship can something truly valuable come out of it. This can make them crave the heartbreaker thrill, as it gives them a sense of deep emotional experience. What's dangerous about this dynamic is that it leads to an unhealthy attachment to pain. The emotional intensity of being heartbroken may feel like love, but it's actually a distorted version of what a healthy relationship should be. You may find yourself continuously attracted to people who don't value you, thinking that the emotional turmoil is the price to pay for something meaningful. Number 5. The rejection addiction. Rejection is painful, but it also has a psychological pull that some people can't resist. It might sound strange, but some people are actually addicted to rejection. This happens when someone who doesn't value you continuously rejects your advances, whether emotionally or physically, and you end up wanting more. The feeling of being rejected creates a sense of urgency or desperation, pushing you to try harder to win their attention. Why does rejection feel so addictive? When you're rejected, it creates a psychological response that fuels desire. You start to crave the very thing that's denying you, and the more they push you away, the more you feel like you need to prove your worth. In some cases, rejection can trigger your emotions, making you feel like you're missing out on something important, or that if only you try a little harder, you'll win their approval. This addiction to rejection can make you blind to the reality that someone who doesn't value you may never truly give you the attention or affection you deserve. Instead, you're trapped in the belief that if you keep trying, you'll eventually be rewarded with love or acceptance. Number 4. The unavailable charm. The unavailability of someone who doesn't value you is often seen as a form of charm. The more unavailable they are, whether it's emotionally, physically, or in terms of commitment, the more it feels like a challenge. This can make them appear more desirable, as if their lack of availability is somehow a measure of their worth or importance. In some cases, people are drawn to the idea that someone who is hard to get must be special. There's a perception that if they are not easily available, they must be in high demand or have qualities that make them stand out. This can lead to the belief that their unavailability somehow makes them more attractive. However, this behavior is a red flag. Someone who is emotionally unavailable doesn't have the capacity to give you what you need in a relationship. This can lead to feelings of frustration, as you're constantly chasing after something that's out of reach. Over time, this behavior erodes self-esteem, as you begin to feel unimportant and undeserving of consistent attention and affection. Number 3. The toxic spark. Some relationships have a certain spark, an intense energy that can be exciting, even if it's ultimately toxic. The toxic spark is the chemistry that forms between two people, where emotions run high. But so do the negative patterns. When someone doesn't value you, the emotional connection you share may be filled with conflict, misunderstandings, and tension, but it feels powerful nonetheless. This toxic spark often feels intense because it can trigger deep emotional responses. The highs of the relationship may feel electrifying, and the lows may feel devastating. The constant push and pull of this emotional chaos can create a sense of dependency, as you may crave the excitement of the emotional highs, even though they're paired with unhealthy behaviors. What makes the toxic spark so dangerous is that it often blurs the line between passion and dysfunction. You might find yourself holding on to the hope that things will get better, even when the relationship is clearly harming your well-being. Number 2. The emotional hunger. At the heart of many relationships where one person doesn't value the other is a deep emotional hunger. This hunger manifests as a desire for love, affection, and emotional connection that isn't being met. The emotional hunger creates a void that the person tries to fill, often by staying in relationships that are unbalanced or unhealthy. When someone doesn't value you, it can lead to feelings of emotional emptiness. This emptiness often drives the desire to seek out someone who can provide the emotional connection you crave, even if that person isn't capable of meeting your needs. The more emotionally starved you feel, the more you may seek out someone who gives you the smallest amount of validation or affection, hoping it will be enough. However, this emotional hunger can prevent you from recognizing your own worth. The longing for connection can cloud your judgment, causing you to settle for relationships that don't provide the emotional nourishment you need. Over time, this hunger can lead to feelings of deep frustration and loneliness. Number 1. The playing hard to get game. Finally, one of the most common dynamics is the playing hard to get game. It's a classic strategy used by people who are emotionally unavailable or don't value the person chasing after them. The idea is to appear elusive and distant, making the other person work harder to gain their attention or affection. It's a psychological game that can keep someone hooked on the idea of winning the person over. Playing hard to get is often used as a way to create excitement, but it also serves to maintain control in the relationship. The person who doesn't value you may give you just enough attention to keep you interested, but not enough to make you feel secure. This uncertainty can create a sense of longing and frustration, keeping you in a constant state of wanting more. While this game might seem playful at first, it quickly becomes draining. The emotional cost of trying to win someone's affection who isn't fully invested can leave you feeling empty and unimportant. Eventually, it becomes clear that you're more focused on the chase than on a genuine connection. You might have recognized some of these signs in your own life or relationships. The truth is, understanding these behaviors can change how you approach love. If this video gave you some clarity, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share it with anyone who needs to hear this.